Okay, ladies and gents, we are going to look at the workings out for 2017 Higher Level 11A. So if we read it, some of the blue pigment azurite used by artists has changed over the years into green malachite. So we're going from blue to green according to the following balanced chemical equation. Analysis shows that the only copper-containing pigments in the paint are azurite and malachite, and that the pitcher now contains 3.81 grams of copper. What mass of pure azurite contains 3.81 grams of copper? So let's just see what we have first. We would usually write out our ratio, which in this instance is 2:1, is to 3 is to 1. The info from the question doesn't go with anything. So the info from the question that we have is 3.81 grams of copper. And what we are interested in is mass of azurite. So we want to find the mass of all of this. So this is going to be our way in over here. And we know from our periodic table, and it's in grams, that we need our mass triangle. So copper here is going to be 63.5 grams. So what we are going to do is we're going to do 3.81 divided by 63.5, and we're going to turn that into moles, 0.06 moles. So we are interested in the azurite, and the azurite has a formula of Cu3, CO3 twice, OH twice. So we're now looking for something, the mass of a compound, when we only have information on this part of it, believe it or not. So this is one of the ones where we have to break up our equation to see can we figure out the moles for our mole ratio box. So we have one of these, and if we break this up into copper, it's going to be 3 Cus, and technically it would be 2 CO3s, and technically it would be 2 OHs. And we already know, so our ratio is 1:3 for this part, because this is what we're interested in. And we already know that 3 equivalents is worth 0.06. So 1 equivalent must be worth 0.02 moles. Now, this gave candidates difficulty because they couldn't figure it out. So the word of advice is, if you can't figure out your way in, pick a number, work with the number the rest of the way down, and we'll see where we go. So technically, we now know that 2 equivalents up here is worth 0.02 moles. 1 equivalent must be worth 0.01. This must be worth 0.03, and this is worth 0.01. And we have turned our moles, written our moles as a ratio, and we have answered part I, where it wanted us to work out, well, no, I lie, we haven't answered part I. We've worked out the moles, but we need to work out the mass. So we need to multiply this now by our molar mass. So up here, we're going to write it all out. So we have Cu3, we have a C and an O3, and this is going to have to be by 2 because both of those things are in brackets. And we now have an O by 2 from our OH and a H by 2. So we've said copper is 63.5. It's going to be multiplied by 3. We have our carbon is going to be 2 by 12. Our oxygen is going to be 2 by 16 by 3 because there's 3 of them. This is going to be by 16, and our hydrogen is going to be by 1. And when we've done all of that maths, we should end up with 344.5. So we're going back to our 0.02, and we're multiplying it by 344.5. And when we do that, we are getting 6.89 grams of azurite. So this was the answer to part 1. In part 2, it says, calculate the maximum mass of malachite that will eventually be formed. So we are now looking at these number of moles, apologies. We're looking for these number of moles over here, 0.003 moles. And we now again have to do a molar mass calculation. So our malachite is going to be Cu2, CO3, and we're going to have an O by 2 from the OH and a H by 2. So we now have 63.5 by 2. We have a carbon, which is a 12 by 1. We have oxygen, which is 16 by 3. We have oxygen, which is 16 by 2. And we have hydrogen, which is 1 by 2. So when we do all of that mass, we should now have 221 moles. So we'll come back up here. 0.03 moles by 221 will give me a mass of malachite, which is going to be 6.63 grams. So this is our answer for part 2. It then says, what is the volume measured at STP of carbon dioxide that would be released from the painting? So for the carbon dioxide, we are now looking at this portion, and we are looking at volume at STP. So I hope in your head now you are seeing a volume triangle. So where we have volume, and because it's STP, it is going to be 22.4 litres or 22,400. There's no units in the question, so you can use whichever version you want. So I'm going to go 0.01, and I'm going to multiply it by 22.4 litres. And when I do that, I get 0.224 litres. This is going to be the final answer for 3. So the most difficult parts of this question was working with your 3.81 grams of copper and relating it back to your azurite. So what you need to do is, once that is done, once you have moles of copper, you're then looking to break apart compounds to work out what is the mole ratio that we would put into our red box. So I hope that works out for you.